Hi guys, thanks for stopping by my channel today. Now on most videos, I make some type of craft, but today I want to show you how to use a free design software to create a fill pattern for a lot of different types of designs. So if you're interested in learning how to take something from Google, go from this to this, or if you want to learn how to use this program to type words for a sign or any other thing and fill them with a pattern, keep watching the video. Now the software that I'm using is Inkscape. It is a free design software. I want to close it out so you see exactly how it opens on my computer. Now this is the beginning screen on my computer. I'm using a Mac and I believe this version is Inkscape 1.0.2. If it's anything else, I'll add it as a subtitle and it should pop up right now. When I open Inkscape on my husband's computer, it does look a little bit differently. But everything that I'm going to do today can be used on other computers. Now, two things to notice. My default template is a 12 by 12, and that's because when I started using Inkscape, I was using it for cutting things out with my Cricut. I use it a lot now to make sublimation designs. So the first thing that I need to do is change this default template. You go right up here to File, click on that, and then go to Document Properties. Now, as soon as I click on this, you're going to see some panels open up over here, and I'll be using those a lot. So I go to Document Properties. Here's those panels I was talking about. And then I select my size of paper. In this case, it'll be 8.5 by 11, but I want it landscape. Now that I have my choices made, I can click on the red X, and you see it changed. Now I have a second way to get those panels to show up. There's several ways. You can actually go up to the top and use some of the functions. But let me show you the easiest way for me. Once I open Inkscape, I can just go right here, nudge it, and there they are. So I'm going to show you three things today. I'm going to bring in a simple image that I just Googled. I'm going to bring in an image that I got off of Creative Fabrica. And then lastly, I'm going to use Inkscape to type a word and show you how to fill that with a pattern. So let's start with the first one. The first one was a simple image off of Google. With Valentine's Day coming up, I'm looking for a heart image, but this will work on anything else. So I Google heart, go to images, and then I like to narrow it down by clicking on clip art. The best images are just black and white, so that'd be a good one. That would be a good one. When I find one I like, I'm just going to drag it over to my desktop. Okay, so once again, I'm going to change my document properties, get it to the right size and the right orientation. I see the heart on my desktop, so I'll just drag it onto my screen. And then I just stick with these default settings. So I say OK, and there it is. Now I want to lock my proportions right here. Then as long as I drag from a corner, the proportions will stay locked. Even if this lock is locked, you can drag it from the side or the top and make it whatever proportion you want. So to take advantage of this lock, you do have to drag it from a corner. With it selected, you go up to Path, Trace Bitmap. Now the best images are just plain black and white ones. That's what mine was. I'm going to use a single scan since I only want one color, and I'll say OK. You can see a little preview of it there, but I can close out, and here's my new image. Now you can tell this is the new one because there's nothing around it. The background is gone. On the image I started with, there's still a background. But there is a better way to check because some images will come in with no background. If you select one of your images and go right here to this Nodes tool, no nodes popped up on this one, so that's the old one. So I'm going to select it and delete it. Then I select this one, go to the Nodes tool, and there's my nodes. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a simple image and I'm converting it to a path. Now what a path is technically is over my head and very complex, but what it means to me is now I can take advantage of a lot of editing options that I couldn't use if it wasn't a path. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and bring in my pattern. And I have a zebra pattern. It's a JPEG. It can be a JPEG, a PNG. It's not real picky about the type of file. I dragged it over. Now I need to say OK. It will take just a couple of seconds. And then, wow, look how big this came in. Let me click right up here on the select tool. Click on the image, and I can see that it is 37.5 inches by 37.5 inches. So I'm going to change that to 10 inches. Because my lock was on, it stayed proportionate, and it's 10 by 10. Now, it was so huge that it's somewhere on my screen, but I can't see it. So I'm clicking on my Shift and my minus key so that I can zoom out and find it. Here it is. So I'll select it and drag it down. Now to zoom back in, I'll hit the Shift key, hold it down, and hit the plus key, and that's how you can zoom in. Now the first thing that I notice is my heart is in back, so I can either stay with this design, go up to Path, and say lower to bottom, or I could have selected the heart and then moved it to the top. Either one works. All right, so I'm going to put my heart on there. And then I want to take advantage of all the pattern that I can, so I'll make it quite a bit smaller. Now that I have them layered, the next step is select both items. You can either click around both items and you have to go all the way around them, or I think it was the pattern that was already selected. I could hold the Shift key down and now select the heart. Once you have both items selected, you'll go to Object, Clip, and Set. And there's my heart. Now, if I want the little black line around it, like a shadow or an offset, let me go back. I'll show you what you need to do. I'll select my heart and I'll copy and paste just a duplicate of it. Then I'm going to go back up here, select both items, and then just redo what I had done. Object, Clip, and Set. Okay, let's see if that's on top or bottom. Okay, that's on the bottom. They're the same size right now. Since a heart is very symmetrical, it's not like letters or anything like that, I could just drag this to make it bigger or tell it up here what size I want. But to me, here's the best way to do it. Remember, we turned this into a path. This only works with paths. It is selected, so I go up to Path and down here to Outset. What that's going to do is it's just going to make this larger. It's going to beef it up. So I click on Outset. I can do it as many times as I want. And then notice the shortcut. On a Mac, that's the Command and the right parentheses. So with it still selected on my keyboard, I'm going to click those two, Command and right parentheses, and I'm going to click it several times. Okay, so let's see how big that is. I could either drag it to where I want it, or the more precise way is just select both items, go over here to Align and Distribute, center on the vertical axis, and then go right here and center on the horizontal axis. And there's our design. Let me go ahead and really zoom in on that so you can see it. That is super cute. Now, if I were going to print this whole design would need to be down here on my paper. If any of it sticks off my paper, the part that sticks off won't print. Okay, so I said I was going to do this with a simple shape, which I just did. Second, I was going to do it with something that I got off of Creative Fabrica. And then third, I'll type my own word into it. Now my image from Creative Fabrica, it is a PNG, so it's not going to have a background. It's XOXO, and I'll just drag it onto my screen. Again, I'm going to keep my default settings, and there it is. Now, in keeping with Valentine's theme, we're going to use another pinkish design. So I drag it over, say OK. Now, this is also a background that I got off of Creative Fabrica. And once again, it's huge, which is really a good thing because it gives you a lot more bang for your buck. Sometimes you'll get a design, and I've noticed that in a 12 by 12, you don't get a whole lot of the animal print in it. So I like that it's huge. You can either just use part of it if you want your print big, or you can make this a lot smaller if you want to take advantage of more of the print. Now I want this to cover my XOXO. I'm going to want to keep the proportions the same, so I'm just going to drag it. Then with it selected, I'm going to go to Object and lower to bottom. Okay, with this being a PNG, it's not really editable. Remember, we need to change it to a path before we can do much with it. See, with it selected, if I try to change colors, nothing happens. Just like the last example, with it selected, you go up to Path and Trace Bitmap. Now the next thing we do will be very different, so stay on here if you want to see how to fill a word. This one is basically like the last one that we did. So after clicking Trace Bitmap, I'm just going to say OK. You can see a preview of it. I'll X out of that, and then let's just drag this off. Okay, remember earlier I said most of the time you can tell, whoops, you can tell which one is the path and which one is the one you brought in. In this case, they look very much the same. So to check them, I go to the Nodes tool. There's no nodes. Let me click on the Select tool and select the bottom one, and there's nodes. So I'm going to click on the Select tool again, go up here and delete the original one. Now, since it is a path and it's much more editable, I'll change colors of it. Now that's not attractive with my pink and black paper, but it helps me see where it is and work with it. And I can change the color back to black later. Now, if I'm happy with not the size, but the thickness of these letters, then all I have to do is select both items, go to Object, Clip, and Set. However, if I want to beef that up, just like I did with my last item, or with my last design, let me make that a little bigger. I went back too far. Then since it's a path, with it selected, I can go to Path and Outset. It's quicker to use my keyboard, so I'm going to use the Command button, and then that right parentheses. Now I might have gone a little too far because it's touching right there. Let me go back just a little bit. Okay, I can see the little leopard thing through there, so I think I'm fine. Now that it's beefy, I want to retain a copy of that. Whoops, I just clicked on it a second time, so I'm going to go Command-C for copy, Command-V for paste. And I'll just hold on to that. I'll select all the way around my design. So with them both selected, I'll go to Object, Clip, and Set. Now to use this one as a shadow or an offset, first of all, I want to turn it black. Let's go with not quite as dark because I can tell this black wasn't quite as dark as the black I had it. Okay, so that you can see the black peeking out from under the XOXO, I need to continue doing an offset. So Path, Outset, I'll use my keyboard to make it even larger. Okay, so I can either select that, drag it down, or like I said earlier, the more accurate way is just select both and then center both horizontally and vertically. And once again, I have just that tiny little black around it that helps set it off. So the last thing that I want to show you is how you can use Inkscape do your own text, and then fill it. And it is a different process than these first two. So let me click on the A, that's the text tool, and click over here. I'm just going to type my name, Marilyn, and of course that's tiny. I'll fix that in a minute. And then I'll click right over here on text and font, and I'll select a font. For this one, Bastion is a pretty font. I'll select that. I can see a preview here and I'll say apply. All right, so I need to go up here to the select tool, and then I can drag it to make it larger. Now that's pretty. Let me zoom in a little bit. That is pretty, but it's pretty skimpy. To change this to a path where I can use that outset feature, I'm going to go up to Path, Object to Path. Second step, you go to Object, Ungroup. Now, if I wanted to right now, I could move these around, drag the M closer, make the Y taller. I could do whatever I want. I'm happy with the way they are. So then you go back to Path and Union. Now it's a path. Let me click on the Nodes tool and you can see that. Now that it's a path, I can make it bulky. I can use that outset feature. So I'll go up to Path, Outset. I can do it again, Path, Outset, but I'll just use my keyboard. Command, right parentheses. Okay, so I'm ready to bring my pattern in, and I'm going to bring this brown, black, tan cheetah print in. So I drag it onto my screen and say OK. I'm going to drag it just a little bit wider, and then let me put that in the back. So I go up to Object, lower to bottom. Okay, my name is hard to read because it's black and it just blends in. Let me turn it teal. And of course that doesn't look good, but it makes it where I can see it. Now before I clip this, I want to make a copy again so that I can use it for an outline. Now I'm ready to select both of these. Again, I can drag all the way around or select one, hold the shift down, select the other, and then go to Object, Clip, Set. Now the designs are cute without an offset or an outset, but I really feel like having a black shadow shows these off. So I'll change my teal to black. Right now it's the same size as the patterned one. So I'll utilize that outset again. I go to Path, Outset. I'm going to use my keyboard to do it, the Command button and the right parentheses. So then here's my final design for the word. Okay, so these are ready to go into projects now. So if you want to really improve your design game, Inkscape is a really good program to do that. And the really nice thing is it's free. So if you don't have a design program, download Inkscape, just start playing around with it, watch YouTube videos, learn small things, and pretty soon you'll be doing all kinds of amazing projects. Thanks so much for joining me and sticking it out all the way till the end. Until my next video, bye-bye.